This is Jeremiah. Welcome back to, we're about 65 now, into this year's Matrix and going through the Bible. We're going through the Gospels here, and of course, one moment here, we got a problem here. Pardon me. We're going to, I got the fan on for a few minutes. I'm going to turn it off. This is Jeremiah. He is on fire. We got Revelation chapter 8, pardon me, Matthew chapter 8, and we're going to listen to Matthew chapter 8. And we're going to get into it. And Matthew 8 is fortunately, it's one of our easier lessons. And let me talk about that for a minute. This is Jeremiah with New Covenant. We rejoice in the Lord together with you. And again I say rejoice. And I mentioned this, and I'll mention this quite a few times. I promise not to keep going over this for those of you who are following along. We are not going to have a lot of intense Bible study here pretty soon. We're going to lighten up and listen to a lot of scriptures. And I think that's where we need to go with this. However, at this time, I want to spend a lot of time building a foundation of about 52 categories. I'm going to put 27 up in about a week or two. I'm just about done with 27 categories or playlists available for you. And we have to get those organized. I apologize, they're a little disorganized at this time. And also, of course, we are going to put up a table of contents, okay? Some of you may want to get into some of the new thing the new item I just put up with 53A and B, which is Catholicism and the Quran and so forth. So, it's up to you as the Lord leads you. There's a lot of stuff here. It's impossible to go through all of my lessons in 5 minutes flat because I have over 500. And even though they're only 30 minutes, it's still a lot of work. And I'm still considering it this summer to reduce them down to 20 minutes because of the attention span of the American and the Western civilization human. So we'll see about that. I haven't decided what to do. But let's get going as we just rejoice together with you in the opportunity to get into Matthew chapter 8, which is one of your healing gospel chapters. And of course, this is from Matthew's perspective, dealing with healings. And we're going to get into healings, of course, in 8 and 9 and elsewhere. But 8 and 9 are really big healing chapters. And they're really dealing with the introduction of the Gospels is putting confidence in God and worshiping Him and seeing the miracle working power in Jesus Christ. And so this is the early part. And of course, when you get to John 14 at the end of the Gospels, what do you run into? Love as the big issue. The Master mentions confidence in Him, yet the bulk of the letter is love is keeping the commandments, which I just went over in chapter 10, where all of a sudden we've been talking about a lot of different issues pertaining to repent and be baptized, the gospel, receive the kingdom, the remission of sins, and all of these basics. And all of a sudden in chapter 10, the Master mentions, if you love me, my commandments to humiliation are the big issue. So we have a transition of thought. We have an insertion which takes prioritization over everything. That's for healings, your attitude, getting your act together as far as sin goes. In the middle of chapter 5, being a very, very compassionate person and a caring, forgiving person at the end of chapter 5. And on this goes until we get to chapter 10 where we get the bottom line. It becomes the overarching principle of the first 10 chapters of these Gospels, if not all of the Gospels. In other words, love me means this, which means this. I'll say it again. Love me, which is the top priority here, means to put on this mind, which has a subtext of what I've been telling you before this. You got that? The number one command is love me, not to be a meek person. Not to think about adultery per se. This is what's known as subtext. But Matthew 10, which is just like John 14, is love me, love me, love me. And all of a sudden, we're getting into the heavy hitters now, where everything basically starts from there. And the master decides to use humiliation as the prime directive. Humiliation takes precedent over everything. However, he said, if you love me, so that means, whoa, it gets heavy at this point. When Matthew 10 shows up, all of a sudden, we are thrust into a world of, whoa, we've got work to do here. Kindergarten is over. Just like when you mention faith, for example. What is the Christian faith? What does Paul mean in Hebrews 11? The substance, and now it's hope, and it's hope faith, and is hope one of the faiths and the beliefs? And what was Abraham's prime belief? And how many things was he confident in? And on and on it goes. You think the Bible is easy to get into when you really want to get into it? No, we can make it simple. I believe in Jesus Christ. He died, and I love him, and he rose from the grave, and we can start there, and we can relax for a while. We can do that. And we do that here quite often. I don't always get complicated, or we start explaining things, as adults who are high school students here. What makes high school a little more complicated than elementary school is there's more information, and you're going to have to tie a lot of information in to other information. When you go to college, you have to tie in even more information. You get a master's degree, you have to know more information, and you're going to have to enter into more higher realms of thinking where you have a lot of underpinnings, and you better know all of them. Okay? Let's get to Matthew 8. I'm going to turn the fan off. It's starting to get hot here. I'm going to have to teach. I'm going to have to take up my cross today. The Lord went through difficult circumstances. Jeremiah is going to do the same thing. We just looked at Matthew 10 here. I did. And I don't want to be above the master. People who want to be above the master is the reason why it's called a falling away right now. People are falling away from William Penn, submission, kindness, humiliation, poverty's not a bad deal, I don't want to be rich. That's the way America used to be. Abraham Lincoln chopping wood, and he had $100 in his pocket, and he freed a black woman and a young girl, and he spent his last money freeing a slave. That personality is G-O-N-E, it's gone. I gotta be rich, I gotta be greedy, and that's the new world. And what is that essentially in the church? Seeking to be above the master. While you're in the church area, you're in the church grounds and you're seeking to be above the master who you say that you are going to learn to please. I want to be above taking up my cross daily, so I'm going to take all of the scriptures that pertain to the body of the letter, the prime directive, and I'm going to try to escape the prime directive, which is essentially humiliation. I'll mention a few mercy scriptures, but what you'll fail to do is realize that the mercy scriptures are tied into the humiliation scriptures. And that obeying the law to be merciful is tied into humiliation. So you might try that angle. I'm going to be very caring. Woo-hoo! but you threw the humiliation scriptures away, so you're disqualified. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly before thy God. I'm going to throw away, loving righteousness. Woohoo! I'm going to throw away hungering and thirsting after righteousness. I'm going to throw away being humble and humiliation scriptures. And I'm going to be, just a little merciful and kind to people. And you think that's going to work? That's called, you're not living by every word that proceeded from the mouth of God, and you're going to die. You're going to have to live by every word that proceeded from the mouth of God. We live in a pick-apart generation. We're not going to go there right now. But we don't play pick-apart. We do justly, love mercy, and we walk humbly before our God. Got that? That's called a winner here in the United States. We have a winner. Okay, victory. An overcomer. There's no pick-apart here. The greedy young rich ruler tried to play pick-apart with Jesus Christ, and he got in trouble. He was told he ain't going to heaven, and he can't even be converted because he's rich. Technically you can't be converted if you're rich. It's impossible. It's clear in the Gospels. Now it's not clear around here. They're around the corner over here. You know. How many Frenchmen can be wrong, and how many human beings will be mentally retarded? They won't get a C grade. Oh no, there's probably millions. I haven't made a survey, but if I were to make a survey, it's a lot of people. We're coming up short. Not enough, as the Master says here. Not sufficient. That's chapter 10. Not enough. Not sufficient. Have some affection for Jesus Christ. That's called not going to work. You're all in this, or there's no go. That's why we teach we're all in here. They had a nice soul song, and I'll quote a soul song. I don't want you listening to soul music too much. We're in the hymns here. But they had a whole soul song years ago, which was called "Ain't No Half Stepping." No. Well, that's it. They're half stepping. Doing the Bible mentions that in Isaiah, where God says, "Oh, give me half of your stuff," you know. And I know that half doesn't work, and it's not love. And I mentioned this 1,000 times here, that my parents showed me that half ain't love, to put it in a rustic terminology. You give me half of something, you don't know what love is. And what's boots on the ground here? Okay, boots on the ground, my mother's dinner table for Thanksgiving. Did I get turkey and a little gravy on it? And that's good for you, boy, over there, a little turkey. I learned that you're all in. My parents were all in. They were home every night. I repeat this over and over again because it's a prime example of God, and you should learn from that example. Ain't no half-stepping, no. A little bad grammar there from an ex-teacher here, but listen, here's the point. We're here to get up. We're all in. You know, they have these new science fiction movies in America that I used to watch years ago, and they say, we're going in. That's it. Are we going in? Yes or no? Are you walking in front of the house to buy the house? Or are you going to go in the house and buy the house? Looky-loos everywhere. I'll be right back. I got to turn the fan on. It might be too noisy. Maranatha, we'll be right back. So, let's listen to chapter 8 as we bounce around some general doctrine, as we get specific and itemized. Once again, I'm very excited. And I'll say this again. I'm very excited about getting into listening to a lot of scriptures and focusing on one subject. And then we might tie two subjects together or something like that. Right now, we're into multi-subject kind of Montessori stuff right now, and it can get a little confusing, but you just hang in there. Some of you are really going to enjoy the teachings when we start reducing our stimuli here, okay? When we start breaking things down. Some of you are going to be happy with my observation on Western civilization, collegiate knowledge. I just looked at some data here, some information here. What was that, today? I'm forgetting my schedule. It's been a busy day today. I have half an excuse. Let's listen to Matthew chapter 8, King James Version.
And my servant shall be healed, for I am a...
Let's go.
Chapter 8. When he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, there came a leper, and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand, and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus saith unto him, See thou tell no man, but go thy way. Shew thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded, for a testimony unto them. And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus saith unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say unto you, that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Jesus said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour. And when Jesus was come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid and sick of a fever. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she arose and ministered unto them. When the even was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Himself took our infirmities, and bare our sicknesses. Now when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave commandment to depart unto the other side. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus saith unto him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. Behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. And his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish. And he saith unto them, Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he arose, and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the men marveled, saying, What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? And when he was come to the other side, into the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, What have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time? And there was a good way off from them, and herd of many swine feeding. So the devils besought him, saying, If thou cast us out, suffer us to go away into the herd of swine. And he said unto them, Go. And when they were come out, They went into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea, and perished in the waters. And they that kept them fled, and went their ways into the city, and told everything, and what was befallen to the possessed of the devils. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they besought him that he would depart out of their coasts.
So there you go. Now this is an easy chapter in a way. It had about 30 or so points to go over. Relatively easy. And we're going to wait for the rapture. I usually try to get that in once a week. And we can't do that. We're going to have to get back to the text here, because I want to finish Matthew before the month is just about over. And we're dragging a little bit, which is fine. We have to be thorough and precise. Okay? Now, I have a review of chapter 5 here. I'm going to go ahead and let that go for now. It's a nice review of chapter 5. As we really hammer home these Matthew chapters and move on. Mark is going to be easier for us. Luke is going to get back to some hard work. Luke is monstrous, as many of you know. It's a big book, and it's very thick. And when you have these red letters, it gives you a lot of work. The work is really in the red letters, because it's where the master gives a lot of information, and obviously he wants us to go through that information. And I'm actually looking forward to start taking it easy and mentioning just a few concepts and shutting down. And I'm thinking about shutting down to 15, 20-minute videos, because a lot of this is for you to listen and learn on your own. It's not so much me guiding you through everything. I'm giving you a lot of basics, because that's what the red letters are. And Paul is details. Paul will paraphrase, but he's more or less detail man. Such as his first discourse in Romans is a psychological profile of someone who sees beauty and they become a loser. They see beauty and they walk away as though there's no maker and there's no order. In other words, get yourself in order, because you're creation also. Nature that doesn't get in order is discarded. And Paul gives a wonderful psychological profile, but my point is that he's Mr. Detail. You know, on many levels. Let's get going. So we're going to go to Matthew chapter 8, and let's get going as we get this done. This is going to be a pretty much an easier segment here, and I'm going to shut down. It's kind of a warm day anyway. It's going to cool down here apparently, which is really nice. I don't have to use the AC, and many of you who are in warm regions, you get to use your fan and so forth. And it doesn't hurt to be economical and save money, so to speak. And we have faith that God's going to take care of us. We just went through that in Matthew chapter 6. You're worth more than many sparrows. And the master mentions it again in Matthew 10, talking about disciples who are getting ready to be thrown into the lion's den. Some of them are going to be murdered and so forth, and hurt terribly and so forth. And if not most of them. So he's telling them that people are going to destroy your body, but don't you be too burdened about that, because I know how many hairs are on your head, and I know how to put you back into a new you, better than before. That's what he's saying. Wonderful scriptures to talk about and to share, especially with those who are out there who are sick right now, and you got some sort of handicap and so forth. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy making these videos, because people out there who can't get around too well, they can go online and learn a lot about the Bible and anticipate, of course, if you're handicapped, to the rapture, which is happening any moment, and you'll have a new body. That's 7.6 in this ministry, which is heaven and beauty. And 7.6 is a new you. Everything's going to be beautiful in heaven. There'll never be any more handicapped or anything ugly or grotesque. Never again. Unless you're downstairs, which is another reason why you don't want to go downstairs, obviously. Okay, let's go to the mount, and in the mountain discourse of the master, And we have the first miracle, which is a leper, and he's going to invoke the humble request approach. And there are different kinds of approaches to Jesus Christ. There is those who are responding and having difficulties health-wise because the Lord has judged them because of sin. Then there are those who are having their problems simply because that's the Lord's will. And then there's going to be people who are going to touch him and be healed. And that's through confidence in his powers. And there's mud on your eye, and it goes on and on. Different kinds of healings. This one is a invoking, and he's using the very simple, if it's your will, Master, I want to be healed. And in a way, that is the most superior way of doing things. Because you're seeking the will of the Lord. That's very important. Let's move on. So, I will be thou clean. So now he says, go to Moses. And this is the only time in the Gospels where we have a direct command of the Master to use the Mosaic law in a healing. If you're healed in the Old Testament, you're supposed to go to the temple and to report it. Now he's going to the temple to report it, and one reason is because they don't heal anybody. They don't have the power to heal. The religious leaders there are selfish, greedy people, and they're misrepresenting God. They're not like Moses. They're descendants of Moses somewhat on a family kind of level here, but they're not the same kind of people. They don't have the honesty and the compassion of Moses, not even close. And of course, this is why they can't heal anybody. Moses knew God. He was called the servant of God. These people don't know God, and they're not servants of God. Yet they have the uniform, like a TV person. They have a uniform. They got a Bible in their hand. These guys have the Ten Commandments in their hand, and they're well dressed, and they live in the temple there. Woohoo! But they're not really on the team. Jesus said they snuck in the window. They never came to God or to Jesus Christ for official introduction as to what they're supposed to do. They just snuck in the window, started staring at the gold, and started pointing fingers at people. That's the kind of person they are. Let's move on. So now we have a policy situation where we have a servant of a commander here, and a captain and so forth, and he wants his servant to be healed, and he's dying. Now, and the key point here is that this gentleman is coming for a healing, and what is he doing? He's worshiping Jesus Christ. So this is very significant. This is one of the first significant parts of your Bible, because this is really your first observation of someone who's worshiping Jesus Christ. Chronologically here. That we know. Worship means he's God. You don't worship a prophet. So this gentleman who is a soldier is doing what? Let's go to some of these item-specific things here. Hold on. Centurion. I'm not worthy, meaning Jesus Christ is definitely above him. He draws a line of demarcation between creation and creator, holy, almighty Lord God, and him being unworthy human being. Very significant. And what you have in your hands is somebody who has confidence in healing powers, and they also have identified Jesus Christ as God, and we have a winner on our hands. He just doesn't have confidence in God's miracles. This guy is a big-time winner. Why? Because he's doing everything he's supposed to do that's really basically required of you for salvation, which is faith, hope, and love. This guy's a winner here. Oh, don't come to my house. I'm not worthy of you. All you got to do is say the word. Now he's going to reference this guy as being someone who is going to attend what? He's going to attend heaven and be in heaven and come to the eating places which are in heaven, which you're going to have a new human body of some sort, of an angelic body, and you're going to go to some sort of table and eat in your new angelic body. And that's what we got going on here, which is totally cool stuff, isn't it? So the gathering time, which is in the sky, is called Cancer, which basically means lesser and greater fold. And we have the ship there also as a decan under Cancer. And he's the captain of the ship of the gathering. So it's confidence in Jesus Christ, and with the addition of apparently love and adoration of Jesus Christ as God. And this is very significant, because he's not just looking for a healing. He's looking for a healing, and he's taking advantage of an opportunity to bless the Lord and identify him as he truly is, worthy to be praised, and the glory that's due to his name. Woo! This boy is sizzling. He's doing all the right things, very similar to someone we saw earlier in chronologically in Miss Mary. Uh-oh. He's like your two early winners of the Gospels, Mary and this gentleman, because they're both living by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Woo! That's what a winner is. It doesn't mean if you have confidence that you're not a winner alone. You may have love. We don't know that. We'll be right back.